Welcome to Todd's World, the wildly opinionated news hour with special guest every week, Carrie. Special co-host every week, Carrie. How's it going,
Thank you
Carrie?
so much. I do feel special. Thanks.
How you doing?
Good. I like how you paused for effect there.
Do you?
Everyone was waiting, like, oh my gosh, who's there?
Who's here now?
Is it someone different? Oh, no, it's just her.
You know who I heard from last night?
Who?
Remember our old buddy Troy, who
Yes,
he came on and did a companion show with us for I think Insurrection.
I remember that.
Remember?
Yeah.
And he asked me, he was wondering, he's like, I keep checking, and he said, I do listen to the show some here and there, and you guys are great, but he's like, are you going to continue with Witness and Insurrection?
Oh, he misses your books, your
So that
stories.
was really nice. That was great.
That's cool. Hey,
And
Troy.
I told him that I'm working on Witness 2, and I'm hoping to have that out this year, and then maybe
Hmm.
at this point, Insurrection 3, maybe next year. I got to wrap my head around Insurrection again. It has messed with me a little bit that the deep state has proven as much of a paper tiger as they have, and it's like,
Yeah.
now I can, obviously it's fiction, so my deep state can be a lot more powerful, I guess, and a lot more evil. But I just was like, I thought they had more going for them than this. And Trump just gets reelected and goes about just destroying their power structure, and I'm like,
Love it.
this is the real insurrection.
I know. You're like, sorry, Troy, real life is way more fun right now, so we're just enjoying it.
But I do 100% plan to get back to that. If people don't know what we're talking about, we originally started this show, Todd's World, and it was going to be the fusion of fiction and podcast. I said
Hmm.
two different stories. One was called Insurrection, in which Trump gets shot down in the first episode. So we're
It's
this is an
traumatic.
alternate reality. It's
Yeah,
a,
it's
it's
awful.
life without Trump, but it's a great story.
Yes.
And then you there's a paramilitary group that is a secret paramilitary group that Trump and Reagan and some different people are funding, and it
Hmm.
starts to rise up and do guerrilla warfare and hang people from trees and overpasses, and
I know.
it's a lot of fun if you enjoy that kind of thing. It's got good characters though. Beth's in it. Gray.
Yeah, the characters. Todd
It's
writes such great
it's a lot
characters,
of
so of course that part's fun.
and then Witness was another story, and
Love it.
Witness was based on kind of loosely based on the Bible Revelation apocalypse type thing. But when I say loosely, I mean real loosely.
Hmm.
Don't walk into it expecting your normal whatever that you get from your charts and stuff at church, because it's nothing
Right.
like that. But it's a great story, and
Oh, it's
that's
so
Witness
good.
2 is what I'm working on. And I don't know. We tried doing it. What we originally tried is we did subscriptions,
Hmm.
and then we only did it on Spotify. Then we opened it up, but we were trying to make money off it, obviously, and it never
Yeah.
really. In fiction and podcast, and I still think there's a future there. I just don't know if it's here yet. I don't know if people are ready for it. So somehow I am
Yeah.
going to continue these stories
Good.
once things get rolling here, and more
Yeah.
stories to boot. But I in this phase of life, I found it difficult because this podcast takes a lot of time promoting it, doing it, recording
Yeah.
it, and so to find the time to write in addition and make a living has been a little
Right.
bit more than
That's
I.
right. You're not just, retired and
So what I'm looking for is everything to take off: the books, the podcast,
books on
the
Amazon.
merch sales on toddsworld.net, which we
Oh
got
my
some
gosh.
great
The
merch.
shirts.
My birthday's coming up,
Whoop,
and I'm not
whoop,
one to
whoop.
shy away from my age. I'm going to be 50 next week.
How'd you
Is that
beat me,
right?
Todd?
Is it next week?
It's like kind of next week.
No,
Well,
it's
by the
not.
time they hear
It's a
this, it'll
week
be next
after.
week.
Yeah, it will
Yeah.
be next week. Yeah, you're right. By the time they hear this,
Yep.
first week of March. So, but
So
my
exciting.
oldest daughter asked me, she's like, "What do you want for your birthday?"
Mm.
And I said, "Does it seem narcissistic to ask for my own merch that I've designed? Because I've designed a new Beers for Jesus sweatshirt and a new wildly opinionated news sweatshirt, and I would like and what it didn't occur to me, I thought I can tell her that, and then she can get what she wants. But
Yeah.
when she orders it, I'm the one who has to process the order.
It's hard to
So
hard to surprise you.
But I'm real excited about my new Beers for Jesus sweatshirt. It's
Oh,
so cool, which I
nice.
don't have yet. But when I get it, and I'm 50, old as hell wearing
Woo!
this sweatshirt.
Absolutely not old at all.
So I'm a half century old.
Incredible. You'd
It's
never know it.
okay. I
Never know
don't
it.
feel I don't feel
No.
like I accomplished enough in my first half century. I'm looking for a
Really?
lot more from the second half.
Really?
Yes.
Good for you. Like, good for you wanting to accomplish more, but I have to respectfully disagree. First half?
For me or you?
For you.
Oh,
First half? I mean, the
I don't
first
feel like
50? Oh my gosh, you've written
a lot
multiple books.
happened.
You've created a
I
show. Yeah, a lot happened, but also,
don't know how much success there was in it, but a lot happened.
no, but a lot happened. You've written multiple books. You've created a show,
True.
and you have like beautiful daughters, like a house full of
True,
beautiful daughters.
100%. I don't I was thinking professionally, not personally per se, but
Yeah, I mean,
um
you're like got a full 50 years of life going on there. It's beautiful.
when I look at Lauren, my daughter, the singer-songwriter, Lauren
Hmm.
Allen, by the way, guys,
Yep.
with a Y, not a Y in Allen, a Y in Lauren. Lauryn. Anyway, you'll find her on TikTok. You'll find
Yep.
her on Instagram. You'll find her, who knows, probably on YouTube. I don't know where all, Spotify, wherever she's at, right?
Hopefully performing in Atlantic Beach
Tons of
in
songs.
Jacksonville in April, this April.
But anyway, she's
Yeah.
19 and
Uh-huh.
full on chasing her dream. And
Love it.
it makes me so happy. And there's parts of it that I think I kind of didn't do that when I was younger. Like
Mm.
I bought a business and I got a family. And even though I knew I wanted to be a writer, I
Yeah.
didn't. I kind of went the other way. And so then now I'm, you know, pushing 50 when I finally get back to it, or I'm
Well,
45 or whatever. And
you're doing great. You need a
never too
little bit of
late.
you need a
I'm
little bit of life to like get those things rolling.
I agree, but it is encouraging to me to watch her like really go after something from a young age because
Yeah,
most
that's
of
cool.
life is a young person's game. I mean, let's be honest, it just is.
I hear you. I'm proud of her too. That's you're right. It's a cool thing to watch happen.
Yeah, it is very cool.
Hmm.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, just for people who don't know, they're currently the podcasts are still up for both seasons of Insurrection and the first season of Witness.
Oh yeah, go check them out.
You can also get the books um, online at Amazon.
It's very
Uh,
fun to listen to though, because then there's the companion podcast where we talk about the episode, which,
that was fun.
how could you not enjoy that?
Going forward, I'm not committed yet to
Yeah.
the idea that I'm going to keep them on the podcast. What I probably would do is put a sample couple episodes up
Hmm.
and then probably try to push it more towards books and audiobooks is what I'm
I get
thinking.
that.
But I'd want it, I kind of wrote it to be performed audio wise.
Hmm.
And I like that. I enjoy that style of writing. I think it fits those stories.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not sure monetizing it is going to be reasonable on podcasting, whereas it might be other than promoting it.
Right.
And so then the podcast became what it's become, which is, I think, two fantastic shows.
So fun.
Really,
Yep.
they're two different. Like, I mean, it's Todd's world, so there's two different sides to me. I love the political. I love the news. I love the humor, comedy, sarcasm, all of it. And then, I'm a big Jesus guy. I love
Yep.
Jesus and I love digging into the Bible and I love all. So to be able to take those and kind of have those be our two kind of flagships, and then I can do more writing. I can put it out theoretically. If we wanted to do interviews, we could do whatever we wanted.
It's
But
great.
those two as the anchors, I think have it took us a few years to get there, but I'm real happy. You?
Me too. Oh yeah, this being on this ride has been really great. I've learned a lot. I enjoy
And a
these.
lot's gone on in our lives.
I know we've been going through a lot. We've been going through it. But I love the two sides of this too. We talk about in these two shows, we talk about the things you weren't supposed to talk about. Politics and religion. It's a
Religion and
blast.
politics. You're right. I know. I love it.
It's great.
It's so much fun. So, anyway, guys, that's
Check
I
it all
wouldn't.
out
I guess it wasn't a brief thing, but I
and
was thinking of Troy
share.
last night. Yeah,
Oh
share it if you
yeah.
haven't. this so you can share it on the socials. Todd's
Hmm.
World or Todd's World 2023, which is the year we started the show, is where you're going to find us at different places. So you can share
Hmm.
clips, you can share it on your social media, you
Yeah,
can just
please
text it
do.
to a couple friends and be like, "Man, this is such a great show." They talk about themselves for the entire first 10 minutes. Not usually.
Yeah, not usually. Usually
One
we
more
get,
thing though, I want to show
yes.
people, Carrie,
Okay.
is the book. There's a new
Yes.
book out. It's
It looks
called
so nice.
9 Mile Point. It's a novel by Todd Allen. So we're
I
going to
have a
interview him
signed
today.
copy.
This
Talk
novel,
about special. Yeah.
I just finished it. So what happened with this book is this was the first thing that I wrote. First book I
Hmm.
ever wrote. And I was this was back in 99, I think, 2000 when I decided what happened was I read The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. All right. I really liked that book. It was a good book. But at the same time, when I finished that book and I enjoyed it, I thought, I could write that.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
I thought.
I know. The Notebook, I could see how you would think that. I
And
mean,
every
how you would understand that.
Stephen King says everybody remembers that book they read that they think, oh yeah, I could write that.
And that was the one.
And that was the one for me. Now, it turned it took me about 4 years to kind of put together to write, to learn how to write, to learn how to craft a story, fiction, the whole thing.
Hmm.
And really, in the end, it is far more Stephen King than Nicholas Sparks. But it still has probably a little more
Which is
Nicholas
good,
Sparks
you
than Stephen
know?
King. There's a little more romance in it.
Yeah,
the
you're
The
not
story
very
is set in northern
Sparksy.
Michigan, and it's kind of based around a couple different romantic relationships. But then at its heart, it's kind of a supernatural thriller, ghost story, mystery kind of thing. And so all the
Ooh.
way through, you're unwinding this, but then you've got these that supernatural kind of Stephen King aspect coming in, and then you've got the relational side and this old girlfriend who comes back, and all these different things that are going on. A lot of fun. A lot of I. So what
Fun.
happened is I put it on the shelf for a long time, and just decided I sent it to agents, and some liked it, but they thought maybe it was not horror enough, and maybe not romance enough. You know what I mean? It's just a
Oh,
good
is it hard to
story.
classify?
I guess they felt like it would be
All right, so
for them.
side note, the stuff that I've read that you've written, I think is also but I think that's an asset. I feel like that's a good
Unless you're
thing.
trying to make any money.
Unless you're trying to talk to, because if you don't fit into a box, they don't know how to promote
It's
it.
harder to market. You have to
But I
start your own
think,
podcast called Todd's
yeah,
World and
work for
find a wildly
years.
talented co-host.
You're on your way. You're well on your way.
It is a little
That's
harder to
cool.
classify, but great read. So what happened is it's been 15 years since I read it, and I thought this over Christmas. I was like, I need to put that out. So I got it, and I didn't reread it. I had, mind you, this thing's gone over through a lot more revisions than my writing normally does. So I was
Hmm.
in 2010. I did a pretty deep revision on it. I mean, from where I started, I think when I first wrote the book, it was about twice as long as it is today.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
You mentioned
like
that several years ago it went through a
it's
huge
down to a manageable like 350
edit.
words, and the story's right now.
Okay, cool.
It was too much before I didn't know what I was doing. But anyway, so I haven't read it in 15 years, and I didn't read it before I put it out. So what I did is I formatted the entire thing, which you have to do on Amazon.
Yeah.
You got to go chapter by chapter. You got to get yourself a format. I already had a cover designed. I'd done that a year ago, and so I touched up this. I got a little bit familiar with the story, just formatting it, and then I printed it. So when I reread it for the first time after 15 years, it was in book form, which is what I wanted to do. And I went through and I did make like there's revisions. Like if you
Okay.
look at this, see how I got an X at the top of the page, and I got
Yeah.
so I did a few revisions, but I didn't revise the story. All I'm doing
Yeah.
is I there was a chapter that had like a bunch of newspaper clippings a guy was going through, and I realized the dates weren't where they needed to be because I had moved all the
Okay.
dates up. Well, little things like that,
Sure.
little spelling typos, things like
Most
that.
people don't appreciate that all the editing that is needed to make something like that well done.
So
Good for you.
I'm putting it in this weekend. The changes to the final manuscript. It'll be out by the time people get this. It should be out and ready to get on Amazon. You'll get it in
That's
a couple
cool.
days, and I'm telling you, you'll love it. I am going to work on the audiobook, but I'm expecting that to be at least late spring, probably before I get that done.
Cool.
I mean, it's 350 pages I got to record. It's a lot,
Yeah, it takes a bit.
but it's a great book. I got done. And I was
Even for a
like,
wildly talented voice and
this is one
author.
of the best books I've ever read. Who is this guy?
This is as good as The Notebook by Nicholas
It's
Sparks.
better. No, I'm just kidding. It is
I'm
a
sure
good
it's
book though.
yeah.
People should listen. They'll really like it, I think.
I have not read it. I will get to it. I'm very excited about it.
2 years from now, Carrie will have read
I
it.
it won't be that long, I hope. I
You should
hope.
do your book club should do it. It's a great book. And it's not political at all. There's nothing political about it at
Okay.
all. Doesn't even really
Gotcha.
touch on it. It's kind of before that. Or religious. There's not anything religious about it.
Got
This is
it.
just like a straight, great, like mainstream novel, fun story read, mystery
That's
kind of
cool.
thing. So it's doesn't have all of the although it's still good, but anyway, what's going on in the world, Carrie?
Oh
That's
my gosh.
enough about Todd's world and what's going on. So people have a little bit of an idea.
Yep. Love it.
And
Here we are
this
in
is
Todd's world.
people are
You
real
want to know
upset
what's
about
going
Trump
on
lately. I don't
in
know.
the world?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are getting real upset with Trump. This is the former
I don't know why they're
Minnesota
upset.
Vikings punter. So this
Oh,
guy
okay.
could not be less consequential. Like he could not be more inconsequential than what he already is.
Right. Did you say he was the former?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't even know this guy, is what you're saying.
This guy's
Unless you're
name is
from
Chris
Minnesota.
Cluey, and he couldn't matter any less. Like he
Okay.
doesn't matter at all. But somehow he got on CNN
Yeah.
because he doesn't like Trump. That's how you
Very
get
true.
on CNN,
Got it.
and you get their 500 listeners. So let's hear what Chris Cluey has to say about Hitler, because that's I think what we're talking about here.
Oh, great. I love
I
that.
believe we're on the path that Nazi Germany went down under Hitler, and I say that as a political science and history major, as someone who has studied history,
He
and the
knows.
parallels are very, very clear. This
Oh,
administration is trying to erase trans people. This administration is trying to put obedience over duty to the country. This administration is trying to thrust our country into turmoil in order to reap power for themselves.
Wow.
so if you happen to be a former punter
Mhm.
for the Minnesota Vikings
Who studied political science?
and you've got nothing going on in your entire life and you want to get on TV again,
Yep.
that's what you got. You got to call Trump Hitler. And
Yeah,
then
there you
you'll get in
go.
front of at least 500 people on CNN. That's how it
God, I think
goes.
our listenership has exceeded CNN's.
I think we're well on our way.
Woo!
But one of the best things all week that happened, and
Hmm.
this just happened toward the end of the week.
Hmm.
Did you hear about Trump? Okay, so Trump issues his executive order. And
Which one?
one of his executive orders, yeah, no, there's like 4,000 of them. One of his executive orders was uh, revolving around Title IX, and it basically told schools, high schools,
Hmm.
colleges, whatever, that in order to get federal funding, you cannot be engaged in any of this trans. You can't have trans women
Like
competing with
athletes.
biological women. So you
Yeah.
can't have men that
Hmm.
like to wear dresses. Cross dressers can't be playing girls' sports. That's the whole
Right.
thing. Or you're going to lose
Okay.
federal funding.
Sure.
Well, Maine, the
Oh.
the governor of Maine decided that she was not going to comply, right? Well,
Hmm.
then all the governors of the 50 states get together and they're at the White House and Trump's addressing all the governors.
Hmm.
And well, we don't know if she's a lady. She could be trans herself. But anyway, she goes by Janet Mills.
I don't know. I feel like Janet sounds like authentic,
It does, except Trump called her a he or him about 6 times in a phone call earlier in the week. So I don't know
What?
what's
Oh
going
no.
on.
What is he do? What's he doing?
But anyway, he's up in front addressing all these governors
Hmm.
about this, and he calls out the Maine governor to her face.
Hmm.
Like, you're gonna love this. This is just, I don't know if there's not another president, another politician in our history that would do this kind of thing.
I saw part of this. I saw part
The
of it.
NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Are you not going to comply with it? I'm complying with state and federal law. Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, Your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Just tell me, is there any other politician, president ever in our history that could do that kind of thing?
No. Did she say see you in court?
Yes, she's going to see him in court.
Wow,
and he said,
how
"I
she
look
just
forward to it." That should
said
be
that
easy.
to the president. I just want to know, like, I mean, how many are there?
How
Why
many?
is it such a how many
How many cross-dressers?
how many guys are
On
trying
this
to
show,
play
we'll call them
women's sports?
cross-dressers because that's
Well,
what
let's
they
just
are.
call them guys trying to play women's sports. How
Even if
many
they're
are there?
surgically modified
Well,
cross-dressers.
they're still guys. They're still guys. What are they like? How
I
many
don't
are
know.
there?
Well,
You know
I
what?
heard a number that they've taken 600 or 800. They've done a whatever, and they've counted up, and there's 600 or 800 trophies that cross-dressing men have stolen from teenage girls.
Okay.
So that's a fair amount.
It is, but
It's not
that's
nothing.
multiple. I was going to say that isn't how many there are, because those have
Sure.
won multiple. So, whatever. Just why don't they just compete in their own category?
There aren't enough of them to have.
Well,
Nobody would
exactly.
watch.
That's what I'm saying. I know it's like Maine, the Maine governor, just have
The
a
National Cross-Dressers Basketball Association.
the
I'd probably do better than the NBA. The NBA is in
Maine-
the tank right now.
the Maine cross-dressing lacrosse team. Like, just the he, she, they lacrosse team, and just let them play it out on the field. I mean, I just don't get why it's such a big deal.
Because they're women, Carrie.
No, I'm just
They're,
what, they're women? No, they're not.
these men are women.
They
That's
are
what we're told.
not. Oh, yeah, but
It doesn't
the
matter
jig is up.
what's hanging between their legs. What matters is in their crazy, insane, drug-addled mind, they're women.
Yeah.
And
Thankfully, it's 2025 and the jig is up.
the jig is up, and it is increasingly up.
Yeah. But to refer back to the former punter of
Minnesota.
the Minnesota Vikings.
Hell, he doesn't even need a name. He's
We
just some
we'll just
former
call
white
him-
guy punter that repeated
But-
something he learned in college.
To refer back to what he said, though, he said that this president is trying to erase like trans people. It's like, no, we're not trying to erase them. We just don't want men playing in women's sports, and we don't want men in women's bathrooms. It's pretty much it.
It doesn't seem like doing, or women's prisons to rape.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's what they do almost all the time.
That's
every time
another
they
important space.
Every
to-
time they let a
to
cross-dresser
specify.
into a women's prison, they
Yeah.
rape the women.
It's a problem.
Now, in England, that's fine. They like raping. They have entire rape gangs. It's
Really?
amazing what's going on in England. Yeah.
In England?
Haven't you
Oh,
heard about
dear.
these Muslim? I mean, England is,
Well,
for
they're
all
not.
intents and purposes, becoming an Islamic country. They're
Right,
turning themselves
but
over.
those aren't men
They
saying
don't
they're
claim
women.
they're not cross-dressers. They're just Muslim men.
They're just rapists.
Yeah. Well, they have
Yeah,
whole gangs.
different category,
They
but
have
okay.
whole. Oh, I just read something, and this isn't new. Like this happens frequently over there,
So awful.
where there's two.
I can't
there's,
imagine this.
There's two young teenage chicks. I say young. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
old they were. Maybe 13 or 14. It was something like that.
Mhm.
Could have been 16, somewhere in there, right?
Okay.
And they're intoxicated, out of their mind on drugs, and naked in a room filled with, I think it was like 17 Pakistani young men. The cops
Okay.
are called, and
Okay.
guess who the cops arrest? They they arrest the chicks.
What?
Yeah,
What
for
for?
public drunkenness or something. Just
Who,
something.
so who called?
I'm
who
not
called the
entirely
cops?
sure if it was a neighbor who called, but like this happens all the time. They grab these chicks, and they're gangs of men, and they'll take them in, and they'll have 10 or 15 of these Islamic men that'll have a go at these teenage girls, and then they just throw them out on the street. But I mean, this is normal in the UK right now. everybody knows it's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The UK government tries to pretend like the national government, we're not gonna get down in the gutter. We're not gonna do these investigations. We'll let the locals, whatever,
Oh dear. Okay.
because they're scared to death of Islamic the Islamic culture. I mean, they've just lost control to
I
illegal,
was
and
gonna
this is
say,
across the board.
sounds
Sweden's
awful.
having the same problem. It's all over Europe. They're basically going to be taking over all the work they did in the Crusades, and
Wow.
now they're just
Yeah, really.
willingly going to give it back to the Moors.
So terrible. So Todd, as you're describing this horrific atmosphere
In the UK, yeah,
in
we
the
haven't
UK.
talked about it a lot because it's
Yeah,
UK, and
sure.
I
It's
don't know.
fine. But just while we're on this
Who cares
tangent,
about the UK?
I want to just tell you, as an American, the thought that I had for, the safety of my daughters out and about,
Hmm.
I thought to myself, if that is how it is, they would be armed. This is my
Yeah,
American brain, right?
yeah. Well, you
So I
can't be
just,
armed in the UK.
well, yeah, so I just looked up. I'm like, okay, what are the restrictions? What's it take to get a gun there? I'm just gonna read you one itty bitty part because we're not going to
You
analyze.
basically can't get them, can you?
But listen to this. Well, you can apply. You
Oh,
can apply. But applicants must have a good reason to own a gun, such as for sport, recreation, hunting, or work.
hmm.
Self-defense is
That's
not an
not one.
important reason to own a gun.
Well,
So
Europe instituted a
happy
bunch of
with them.
the UK instituted gun control, and
Right.
now knife attacks are out of control.
Yeah. Well, I'd arm my
Because they're
daughters
not
with
changing hearts and
knives.
minds; they're importing a violent culture, a
It's
violent
really
quasi-barbaric
awful.
culture. I
It
mean, a
kind
lot
of,
of it, not all of them, not
right.
completely across the board with Muslim countries, but there's a lot of them that it's pretty backward.
Yeah,
You got these different sects of Islam and whatever. And
right.
I mean, you can listen to the clerics and they'll talk about how, well, this is absolutely, you should be able to rape the white 13-year-olds because that's what they deserve for being infidels. I mean, they'll tell you. Like
Right.
I got
I'm
videos of
sorry.
this stuff and
I'm
I'm
sorry to
just
laugh.
like,
This is appalled, uncomfortable laughter that I'm laughing at that
that's what
because
they
it's
think. They
just
think it's
it
fine.
it's
It's
truly unbelievable though.
Allah uses that to bring infidels to himself. Or you cut the infidels' heads off. That's how it works.
Wow.
Either way, Allah be
Yeah.
praised. Or whatever.
Yikes. So,
Beers with Allah. It's a
not here.
sounds like a lot more activity than beers with Jesus.
Not here. Right. So,
So the other
back
thing
to
with the
yeah.
trans stuff
Mhm.
is in New England. This is in Worcester, Massachusetts,
Mhm.
not Worcestershire. That's a sauce. That's a what is it? A sauce or something? Or a
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire? No, it's Worcester or Worcester.
Worcester. I was going to say, I'm not
Worcester.
sure how they pronounce it. Probably Worcester. Oh, it's probably Worcester.
It's
Uh-huh.
Worcester.
It's Worcester.
Worcester.
It is.
See,
Because
some guy from Michigan can't pronounce these.
well, I was going to say because Massachusetts has a city called Gloucester that is spelled
Hmm.
Gloucester. So Gloucester. I bet it's Worcester.
Who can understand what anybody in Boston's saying
I don't
anyway?
know. I don't know where those came from, but
They got the
those
greatest accents.
wacky Massachusetts
They do have the greatest accents, but you can't
Massachusettsians.
understand them.
Okay.
So
So
this
in
is
Worcester.
a part of a clip, but what'd you call it?
Worcester. I'm
Worcester.
guessing. I'm guessing.
I don't know either. We could listen to Laura Ingraham say it, but I cut her off already. This is Laura Ingram's show, but
Okay.
it's a clip from her show. So, whatever the city is that you said,
Hmm.
their leaders vote to become a sanctuary city for the trans community. And then they bring
Yeah.
up some cross-dressing trans men to talk about how afraid they are. We'll listen to them
Oh,
for a
okay.
minute. That sounds fun.
Okay.
I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't.
She
And
has
if you
purple
think
hair,
You're
or he.
afraid of Trump? You should see how afraid of Trump I am.
It demands
You
a
should see.
response from our elected officials to say, we recognize that you are under attack, and in Worcester, we are going to protect
You got it.
you.
In Worcester? Man, I butchered that name. Holy cow.
Oh,
All I could think of.
Anybody would.
Oh,
Anybody would.
sorry,
It's
guys.
only
I had to turn
because.
Carrie down. That was my
Oh,
fault.
sorry.
God, that was
And
loud.
was it loud? I apologize. Might have to edit that.
No.
No, anybody would butcher that. The only reason I know is because one of my very good friends lives in Gloucester, so I've learned.
So they brought a few of the circus freaks out, and they got
Yeah,
them to testify in front of the legislature.
testify about their
Oh, how
fear
scared
of
they
Trump.
are.
Well,
You
and what
think
are
you're
they
scared of
scared
Trump?
of?
I've got purple curly hair,
But
and I'm
what are they
pretending to be
scared
a
of?
girl, and I want to
Tr-
play in girls' sports.
But I was gonna say, is this like an athletic? Um,
No, none
do
of
they
them
have
looked
athletic?
athletic at all.
I was gonna say, do they have athletic goals? If these are just regular people, what are they afraid of?
Yeah, I don't know. But I thought that was kind of fun.
That's I like the glitter on my face. I don't want to have to put glitter on my face to be seen or heard. It's like,
Oh man, that reminds me of that meme I sent you that was one of the funniest memes I ever saw.
which,
And Nikki had I showed it to Allie and Nikki, both of them. Well, Allie had seen it a couple of years ago because that's how far behind I am of these Gen Z people.
yeah, I know.
But
It's hard to keep
I
up.
happened to find it. And
Hard to keep up. Did you just send it to me,
no,
recently?
it was the one I sent to you that was on TikTok. I don't actually
Oh,
have it. And it was the
okay.
guy talking about how
Oh
I
no.
just thought it was one of the funniest things. He was at like one of these medieval Renaissance festivals.
Okay. Okay.
I just, God, I wish I could find it. I can't even think of what to look for, like to pull it up
So
exactly.
if you sent it to me,
It's
oh yeah,
on
here it is.
TikTok somewhere.
Want me to send it to you
Yeah,
so you
send
can
it to
play it?
me. Yeah. Can you send it to that other one? Send it to my other, or maybe you can't.
Yeah, what do you want me
The
to
one
send it to?
that I linked to you that I've got all my
Yep.
Twitter posts on. Send it there and let's see if we can pull it up.
The cloud thing.
This has nothing political at all, guys.
Is
It's
this the
just,
cloud thing?
yep.
Okay.
It's just one of the funniest, in my opinion, things I've ever heard. And for some reason, my video sharing is messed up. Otherwise, I'd put it full screen so everybody could see it. But when I was trying to do it earlier, it wouldn't bring up it would show the video, but it wouldn't play this post may not be comfortable for some audiences.
Is that what it says? All right. Oh, you know what? We should have that at the beginning of all of our shows. Can we like play a little warning?
I don't, I
This
can't,
show may not be comfortable
I'm
for all
sorry, guys.
listeners.
I can't get into it. It's unfortunate, but
Oh, it won't let you? Okay.
no, not right. It's going to take
All
too
right.
long, the whole
Okay.
thing.
Sorry.
So it's
Oh,
it's sad because it talks about glitter. Oh, they
well.
messed up the whole crime scene
Oh,
because the necromancer spell uses so much glitter.
oh my gosh, that's
The
right. That was
funniest line is when he's like, so he tried the necromancer spell, which didn't work, and I knew it wouldn't.
this is where they find the dead body.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
this guy, he
And
looks like
I'm
he's
a
dressed
healing
for a
monk.
Renaissance fair. Yeah, he's a
Everybody's
healing monk.
probably seen it. Like, I'm so late to everybody.
Well, Todd, I had never seen it. Not that that means anything,
God, it
um,
was so
but it was
funny.
so funny. But yeah, the glitter thing. But what's hilarious is it's a crime scene, and they were like in doing all these spells and attempts or whatever to save this dead person they found. They contaminated the crime scene.
Because the necromancer spell uses a lot of glitter. I was like, yeah, come on.
That's funny.
Okay, here's Riley. We're going to end our trans stuff here. This is
Okay.
Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines, of course, is a swimmer
Yeah.
who competed against cross-dressing Leah Thomas and lost the national championship tour.
Yeah.
But then that has since been reversed by the NCAA,
Mm.
and Riley Gaines has gotten her rightful awards, whatever they were,
Mm-hmm.
medals. She got first place, whatever it was. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Maybe it's a national championship. I can't remember. Anyway, she's an amazing athlete. She has been for years, or for the last 2 or 3 years, really
Mm-hmm.
pounding the getting cross-dressing men out of women's sports or cross-dressing boys,
Yeah.
biological
She's been
men.
advocating for women's sports.
And so here she is.
Biological women's sports.
She's on Piers Morgan's show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back. We got another clip by Piers Morgan a little later with the Ukraine because we're going to get into Ukraine a little bit today.
Okay.
After this, that's in the news a lot. You've seen a lot of Ukraine stuff, or haven't you? You're avoiding it. I can tell from
Yeah,
your face.
I haven't seen a whole lot, but I've seen you reposting a lot of Ukraine news.
There's been a
So,
lot going on this week.
yeah, I
But
mean, I have my opinions, but
this is Riley Gaines talking to a
okay.
trans activist, and Piers Morgan is on here too.
Okay.
Short clip, but you're going to hear just how crazy they talk about Paralympics in here. For
Oh,
people who
okay.
don't know what Paralympics are, they're Olympics for like the handicap, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For people who
Like if
are
you're in a
like,
chair or you're whatever, there's
yeah,
different
they're
things.
paraplegics or like, yeah,
Maybe you
they've
maybe
lost.
you had a leg blown off and you're running with like a prosthetic or something. Whatever it
Exactly.
is. But
Hmm.
that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. It's
That's
like a
what the
whole, it's kind
Paralympics
of
are.
like a
It's
separate classification that competes in the Olympics. Hmm.
yeah, because they're disabled.
Right.
So they're getting a bunch of these disabled people and they're playing
Yeah.
like wheelchair basketball, the different things, whatever,
Right.
right? That's important for people to understand when they hear this clip.
Okay.
Absurd from top to bottom, saying there should be a gender neutral Olympics.
I know.
Are you serious?
Madness.
Do you also believe, Blossom, that we should combine the Paralympics and the Olympics? I would love to hear an answer to that.
Okay, I'll ask her. Bring back Blossom. Blossom, should we
Blossom.
combine the Paralympics
Blossom.
with the regular Olympics? Have them all compete with each other?
I mean, why not? And to go back to
Right,
Riley's
yeah,
point to
why
that
not?
last
Yeah,
point.
okay. You are completely insane.
Okay, go back to that last point.
Absurd.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. Why not have a guy in a wheelchair playing on a basketball court with LeBron James? Like, why not?
I feel like I might even, well, maybe still, I probably couldn't beat LeBron James in a wheelchair, but maybe. Not me in a wheelchair. LeBron in a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Blossom.
that's just how crazy they are. There's
Yeah.
no end to the crazy.
Mm-mm.
Is what it comes down to.
Thank God for the strength of Riley Gaines.
She's done great. She really has
She,
become just a great
mhm.
spokesman on this topic.
And while she has
Spokeswoman.
a lot of support, she's been viciously attacked. And just, yeah, she's powered through, and I think is
Hmm.
really her strength on the matter has pushed forth some common sense through the fog of all this kind of hysteria about
She's been
acceptance
big.
and inclusion that doesn't make sense. I mean, we're about acceptance and inclusion where it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense here. So she's
No,
done a great job.
she's been real big. Matt Walsh, his
Hmm.
his stance on it and
Hmm.
his outspoken, um, just kind of fighting this trans lunacy and putting
Yeah.
out that documentary that he did. What is a Woman? All of
Ha-
that I think had.
I've not seen it. Have you?
I haven't seen What is a Woman. I did see Am I a Racist, which is
Oh, I want to
his
see
newer
that
one.
too.
It was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Okay.
It's I don't know.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like Matt Walsh. I don't want to, and they've been wildly successful documentaries.
Yep.
For me, I feel the same way I do when I watch what amounts to a Saturday Night Live skit stretched out into a movie, and I think there's funny parts
Yeah.
and there's crazy.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's a little long to you know what I mean. You're
Sure.
asking a lot. You're asking to get a lot out of it sometimes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
speaking of racist, I'm just kidding.
Speaking of racists,
We've got Representative Jasmine Crockett, who happens to be a black congresswoman from Texas, I believe.
okay. Yep.
Yeah, she's from Texas.
That's what you told me.
She's she's actually, you know what?
A reliable source has told me she's from Texas.
She's actually really pretty and really crazy. So
Yeah.
it's like an AOC vibe.
Yes.
So, but this is her talking about what's happened with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is it's been floated this week that perhaps Trump will or Trump, the government will send out once they find all this corruption, say they find $1 trillion of corruption and just waste and fraud and abuse. It's been floated that they'll send checks back to the American taxpayers for this amount of fraud and abuse, and that it could be as much as like $5,000 a person or something.
Right.
So, and then some people's reaction to that is, well, you just take it off the debt. We can't afford that. But okay, there's
Okay.
different people can have different reactions, but
Yeah.
but the very idea that one of the first reactions to we found possibly $1 trillion in waste and corruption,
Yeah.
and we should send that back to the people that we stole it from.
Yeah.
I like that impulse.
Sure. I think boiled down like that, it's
That's the right
it's
impulse.
valid. It's valid.
There may be some things that get into it, when you get into the nuts and bolts of it,
Mhm.
that I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. But Representative Jasmine Crockett has, believe it or not, she spends a lot of time thinking.
What's her reaction, Todd?
So here she is talking. I don't know who she's talking to. Some white news girl on ABC
Okay.
who doesn't matter. So we aren't even going to name her. I really don't know who it is. I can't find it on here
She
right now.
was married to a former defensive lineman for
Yeah. She matters just as much.
for the Miami Dolphins.
Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie.
Listen.
He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200
He just telling a lie.
refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever
Biden
go
was
through
printing
again.
money.
We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
Now, she just had she had the gall. Hold on. I got to turn this down a little. I had Representative Jasmine Crockett turned up. I didn't want to miss a word of her wisdom.
Tell me, because I'm just busting. I'm busting.
Our government is not in the business of giving money to people. Isn't that this whole thing? Isn't the whole point? Like we're giving money to everybody. Like Democrats.
I know, like
just Democrats.
People who she should have told someone
who make $200,000 a year as United States senators are worth $170 million when they die.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not in the business of giving money? You give Ukraine $300 billion. You're not in the business of giving away money?
I know. I feel like she should have told someone that a few years ago.
She is crazy. I mean, just certifiably
Oh my gosh, all the
crazy.
money and the rent that they gave to illegals coming into.
Oh, we're not in the business of doing that.
Well, I know it's
not
comical.
for American citizens. What are you talking about? We take money from you. We don't give money to you. Except in a pandemic, once in a life, we don't even know because RFK Jr. might let loose another one.
Oh my gosh,
We
I'm
just
sorry.
don't even know.
I just love how she immediately jumped to every distracting issue she could come up with. She came up with COVID, the checks that Biden sent out, for stimulus or whatever. She jumped to another pandemic possibility, and then the
We're
concept
ignoring
that
science.
we're ignoring science. We're getting rid of scientists and
Completely.
experts, she said. And
We're hanging scientists from overpasses, last I checked.
vaccinations. She brings up vaccinations. I was like, wow, man, she is panicking, like skidding. She's like this car just skidding out of control to stay off the topic of, I mean, why wouldn't you just say, hey, if they can find that money, whatever. But no, he's lying. And let me just distract you with 20 other issues.
You want another 23
hilarious.
seconds of Jasmine
Yes.
in your life? Jasmine Crockett.
I'm gonna go follow Jasmine Crockett. I
We've
think.
been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada
What? Whoa, that wasn't my fault.
and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really
Let's go back. It's only 23 seconds.
we've been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada
It keeps buffering on me.
I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild, but they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now.
Truth.
They can see what it is, and they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him, so don't act surprised.
Don't act surprised.
I'm sorry. What is this truth to power concept? They're speaking. Canada and Mexico are speaking truth to power. What does that even mean?
That's what she
seriously.
said. She's rooting for Canada and Mexico. It kept messing up on Canada.
Yeah.
was
But I mean,
buffering.
I'm just saying, like, talk to me like I'm dumb because I don't even understand what
Oh,
that
they're
means.
experts at that. They're
Jasmine-
professionals.
Jasmine said,
They got the dumbest base you could ever imagine.
I'm rooting for Canada and Mexico because they're speaking truth to power. What does that mean?
Well, to be fair, I think she said TRÜF with an F.
Did she really?
Now, maybe that's just
because she was talking.
cultural appropriation on my part.
That clip looks like she's in Charlemagne's studio.
Maybe we should start saying TRÜF.
No, I am not saying truth. Sorry.
TRÜF to
You
power.
are not going to say truth either. But what does that mean?
That's going to get censored off TikTok. I'll put it up there. I'll spell it TRUF. TRÜF to power. And TikTok will be like, hate speech. You get 20 views. Now those 20 views, you'll have 19 likes, but you only get 20 views.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
your truth.
Oh gosh. But Todd, what does it even mean? I don't know what it means.
Who knows what she's
What
even
is she
talking about?
saying?
Honestly, that one made even less sense than the other one.
Oh, the reason I brought up where she was is because when she was on, yeah, it does.
It is
When
the
she's
Breakfast Club.
on-
You're right about that.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that's Charlemagne the God and whoever. I don't know who's on there, but
so
it's
I think
that morning
because
show.
she's talking, I think she said truth because she's in that studio.
She's got a black audience.
Yeah, but
And
when
they say
she's
truth and
I was like,
axe.
who says that? But listen,
ask you a
when
question.
she's talking was it CBS or
Which
CNN?
is fine. They're entertaining. It doesn't bother me how you say things. I can't even say what is it? Worcester. I still can't say it.
I can't pronounce.
So I'm not any
cities
better
in
than
Massachusetts.
Jasmine. TRÜF, Massachusetts. I don't know.
Truth should be a sanctuary city for something.
I don't know.
For liars. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so that was
Anyway.
Jasmine Crockett. It's just what it
Hilarious.
is. There's no
Yeah.
Before we get into Ukraine, because we're gonna finish on Ukraine and it's gonna be a longer discussion.
Yep.
Well, it just is because it's complex given everything. There's a lot of stuff going on. And the gaslighting and the lying, I mean, I don't know if we've seen anything like it since COVID. Like it's like they took all everything they learned from COVID about lying and gaslighting and completely fabricating narratives and censoring other narratives, and they applied all of it directly to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what has happened. And Trump doesn't buy any of it. Thank God.
Yeah.
But before that, this is just funny. It's 30 seconds. And there's a reporter trying to ask Trump a question, but she's trying to read it from like a script.
Okay.
Trump won't have any of that. That's not his truth. Let's hear what Trump says.
You were reporting that you were signing a amendment later to counter digital service taxes.
Hold on, we're going to go back.
You were reporting that you were signing an amendment later to counter digital service taxes.
Well, will you speak? I mean, what are you doing? Reading it? Can't you just say it without having to read it?
Proof!
Yeah. Oh, sure. Bloomberg, we're reporting that you're expected to sign tariffs or a memo later on tariffs on digital taxes. Is there any idea how high you might go with
We are going to be
tariffs?
doing that. Digital, what they're doing to us in other countries is terrible with digital. So we'll be announcing that. Are we signing it maybe today? Today. And we'll talk about that in a little while. Couple minutes.
So he calls her out for trying to read her question. He's like, why don't you just say it?
If I were asking, even if I were a professional, I would have it written down because you're talking to the president. That'd be nerve-wracking, you know?
Well, it gets even more nerve-wracking.
It's like,
when the president calls you right out.
I know. Be like, gulp.
There's so many.
Can we take a quick break?
Yeah, we should take a break. Let's take a break. We'll come back, guys, and we'll get into Ukraine. All the gaslighting of Ukraine.
Woo!
Carrie is now following Jasmine Crockett, so she's not gonna miss a word of the wisdom. Not
She
gonna miss
just
anything.
she just sounds wildly entertaining.
I kind of think that about AOC. I kind of like AOC. She's kind of fun.
You know what? I like her a lot more when I feel like she doesn't have any support.
I mean, she's crazy as hell, but
She's crazy as hell. Like I loved that thing maybe a couple months ago, maybe in the fall. This video was circulating where she was at some like her own rally out in a New York park, and she's like running all over the stage, being all hype, and like people are just a few people are just standing around. It was
she's one of those like hot chicks that's crazy that you date for like maybe a year because maybe the crazy's like worth it for a
is
year,
worth
but
it
then you
in some
can't
ways.
get past it after a while. After a while, it's just too much. All the good things of the crazy have faded off, and you're like, no, that doesn't make up for it anymore, hon.
Have you ever seen Barney's hot and crazy girl scale
I
How I
haven't.
Met Your Mother?
I never watched How I Met Your Mother, the whole
Oh
any
yeah.
of it.
Barney has like he has like a hot and crazy girl scale.
That's he's right. He's probably right.
I'll send it to you. It's great.
This is the clip you sent me, and this is Stephen Miller giving the entire White House press corps a lesson in civics.
I love it.
Have you? I mean, that's something that it's like the people, the media, just obsession with these sad stories of federal workers getting fired. Like we couldn't get one of these sad stories about 14,000 people, pipeline workers who lost their jobs the day that Joe Biden took office because he shut down the Keystone Pipeline, but nobody cared about them.
Yeah, no one said a word about that.
We don't get any stories about the average people in Los Angeles who lost their homes to a fire that was completely unnecessary and horribly managed. Yeah. We don't get anything from North Carolina unless Trump
people
goes
living
there.
in tents all winter long.
But the press, the American media, they are just, they're outraged and they're just brokenhearted over all these federal workers who are getting fired because it's just not fair.
Who are getting fired with like, what is it, 8 or 9 months pay?
Well, I don't know because they gave them the option to resign and get 8 months severance.
Okay.
And so few of them did, they started firing them. So I don't know what this, maybe they still do it. I don't know.
Okay.
I really just don't know what the mechanics are. My guess would be, I'm sure there's severance of some sort.
Yeah.
And maybe it is the same. I mean, they threw that out there.
Obviously, for anyone, who lost their job.
Nobody ever wants to think of people losing their jobs and whatever. But the point is, why are federal workers sacrosanct?
Yeah.
I mean, why are we? Oh my God, you can't do that. You're the president can't just come in and fire everyone. Clinton did. Clinton came in and he fired every United States attorney and replaced them with people loyal to himself.
Okay.
Obama did. I mean, it's just like,
right.
And they act like, even this Doge stuff, them freaking out. The one thing you never hear them say, you'll never hear them express any concern at all about any of the corruption, the theft, or the grift.
I don't get that at all.
Like, they don't care at all about the money. They look at everything as just it's only 40 billion. Look at that compared to the whole thing. Well, you could do that on everything. I mean, and then you never touch you never touch the final number.
Yeah.
The way you change the final number is all the numbers along the way.
If the agency you work for is wasteful or corrupt, it's got to be cleaned up. I don't understand. I don't understand the gap there. The gap in reason. There's a big gap in reason.
Big gap.
But I love this civics lesson. This civics lesson, whoever posted this video, it was all over the place, but whoever posted it, captioned it, the best video you'll see, this week. And I have to agree.
You do. You like it.
And I'm going to
do.
Whoops, that's Trump. Hold on. That's Trump. Where did you go, Stephen Miller? Here he is. Stephen Miller is I don't think he's a chief of staff. I think he's like an assistant chief of staff. Or anyway, he's a high up advisor, to the president. And
it is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country.
I like his hair.
It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, which is one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for.
100%.
So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers in the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
Ba-bam! Ba-bam.
Pretty basic, right? I can see why you like that. Hillsdale girl.
I love it. Strips it.
I like it too. But Hillsdale's real big. You really know civics, I feel like, when you come out of Hillsdale.
You know what? I didn't even really like dive into it there. I
don't think it matters if you're there. Like, it's so, like, it's baked into everything that they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's truth.
Those Hillsdale students speak truth to power.
Look at Kat Timpf. Truth. Timpf. Maybe that's how you spell truth.
She won that
won
like a distinguished alumni award. I was like, go Kat.
She's so good. I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
She's funny. She's yeah.
It is true that many of the
dang it, why is that starting again? Gosh, who's running this show?
Did you see Kat comparing the complaints about how Doge and how Elon Musk is acquiring this information? Oh, this is so great. Sorry, I'm eating chocolate.
Carrie's the one eating a meat stick on this episode.
Right. I'm eating chocolate.
Everybody's tuning in.
Chocolate. It's not that kind of show.
We just got a whole different audience.
We just got a chance to get subscriptions, Todd. Anyway, Kat Timpf was comparing how people are complaining. They're not complaining about the corruption or the waste, like you said. They're complaining about how Elon Musk is going about it. She goes, it reminds me of the guy you're dating, and you're like, you find out that he's cheating on you. He's like, wait, you went through my phone?
No, you know what? Now that you say that, I saw her do that. It was earlier in the week.
It was so funny.
It was funny.
He's like, how can we be together if you don't trust me?
She's
but
so
I
good.
loved that analogy. It's so great. It's so apropos.
Yeah. She's so good. I don't
She's
play tons of her clips, probably because when you get into somebody like that, like I feel like that's what they're doing. It's not like clips of interviews and things. Like I almost feel a little bad, like I'm ripping off their comedy because that's their thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, got it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know what's what. You know what I mean? But like,
we throw it in once in a while. But
yeah, we throw it in once in a while. But like to do a bunch of clips from Gutfeld, I feel like that's their show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're good at it. I'm not saying I don't like the show. I'm just saying
Gutfeld show. We love you.
It feels like I'd be ripping off their show to play a bunch of clips of their show.
I know what
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I love Kat. I follow her and she's great.
She's a lot of fun.
The funniest thing, one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen her post is because she's all pregnant and like way pregnant. Like she could be having a baby any day.
I was gonna say she's due like any minute.
She's the size of a house, and So in this picture, it was within the last month or I don't know when it was, but anyway, she's all like walking with a cane and she's all just like
Oh my
she's at the
gosh.
worst stages of her
Bless
pregnancy
her heart. I mean, she's like built like she's a tiny little thing. She's like a water bottle. She's
and
a tiny little thing.
her post, like her little thing at the bottom is all I did was have sex with a man. Just, and she's just like crippled almost.
Cat.
Huge and crippled. It was one of the funniest things I've ever
Oh
seen.
my gosh.
I think
Cat, we
she's
got you.
hilarious. She makes me laugh.
She's really funny. I hope she's doing well. This is like being pregnant has not been her favorite thing in the world.
No.
Like I remember being pregnant and just like being just in awe of the beauty of it, blah blah blah. But like it's not that way for everyone.
This is in it. Real quick. I keep
Yeah.
saying that about everything. This is
We're
another
going to
30
spend 2.5 minutes on Ukraine by the time we get to
or it'll be a 2.5 hour episode. Gary's like, can we wait for do beers tomorrow? And I'm like, sure, we'll do an extra hours of news today.
I'm like, I'm exhausted.
That wasn't the idea.
I gotta go. I should have been more clear.
This is Trump talking about the gold in Fort Knox. And I want to tell you something quick about it. After this clip, I'll tell you. It's something I heard this week that I never knew. Wildly interesting.
Something I'm actually going on this one. You know, all my life I've heard about Fort Knox. That's where the gold is kept, right? I heard Fort Knox. Oh, but you know, we're getting a little bit shaky. We're getting the yips on this stuff. Like, I want to find out. So we're going to open up the doors. I'm going to see if we have gold there. We want to find out. Did anybody steal the gold in Fort Knox? It's a pretty amazing place, but I'm going to actually go. We're going to open the doors. We're going to inspect Fort Knox. We want to make sure that we actually have, 400 tons of gold or whatever the hell it is. It's a lot of gold. I don't want to open it and the cupboards are bare. Could happen. And I'm going to do some.
Oh, God. That's encouraging. I feel like he's setting us up for, oh, by the way, they also, in addition to all the money they printed, they stole all the gold.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
But this is what I heard about, and I think it was on Glenn Beck. I'm not positive.
Okay.
I heard a couple different places. But anyway, maybe it's mostly Glenn. That right now, on the U.S. balance sheet, like we talk about our national debt, we talk about all this stuff, right? We value our gold, and however much we had, I thought it was like 5,000 tons, but maybe it's not. Maybe he's right and it's 400 and it's 5,000 bar. I don't know what it all is. I don't know what any of the numbers are. Whatever it is, it's supposed to be a lot. Okay? So anyway, on our balance sheet, the United States balance sheet, we value all of that gold at $49 an ounce. The market value for gold right now is about $2,400 an ounce.
Oh.
And there's
so why do we do that?
There's talk about them revaluing or like they do in loans and things. Not that it's a loan, but banks will do this where they'll revalue assets. They go in and they mark to market, they mark it up or whatever. I could be using that word wrong. Don't send me emails if I did. I don't care. But the point is that would there's talk about even marking it up to 5,000, which would then kind of it might reset the cost of gold a little bit, but it would give it room for inflationary and you could leave it set for a long time again. But anyway, that would radically change the balance sheet, the indebtedness of our nation.
Right. I was going to say that would be that would add to our
assets, not our liabilities.
Got it.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I didn't know that. And I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why it's been like that forever.
You said $49.
$49 an ounce.
Interesting.
Now maybe they did that in the 70s. I think it was in the 70s when Nixon took us off the gold standard. So up until that point, the United States dollar had theoretically been backed by a dollar of paper had been backed by a dollar of gold theoretically.
Okay.
And Nixon took us off the gold standard, and basically it allowed our currency to just kind of free float. So it's not based on gold anymore. It's based on the full faith and credit of the United States government.
I wonder if that's when they started. I wonder if that's when they started taking the gold out of Fort Knox.
Could be. I don't know. We'll see. I thought that was kind of interesting, though. I had never heard that about the valuation.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I really
and I don't know how many
about
ounces are in a ton. What are there? 2,000 pounds in a ton? Is that right? Or 1,600?
I think it's 18. I thought it was like 1,800. But
Working tons a lot.
but how many ounces in a ton? Is that what you want to know? So what I wanted to ask you is, or I wanted to tell you is that I remember growing up, like I didn't really know that Fort Knox was a real place until I was probably like, I don't know, my 30s or something.
Oh, really? You just kind of thought it was
I
like
just remember
a
Fort Knox being
what is it? A
like
colloquialism?
no, like a Bugs Bunny thing. I remember
Yeah.
Fort Knox being like on
You
the
thought it was
Looney
just made
Tunes.
up.
Yeah, I thought it was a made up thing.
It's a real
So
place in Kentucky. Home of the retiring undead Senator Mitch McConnell.
there, oh gosh.
He's finally hanging it up, folks. He's been dead for 20 years and he's just decided this is enough.
I know. I
He
wonder
has
if he
to
even
focus on
knows.
being undead. Too many freezes. There's glitches all over. It's
They're
time to
gonna
just
roll him
lay in
out.
his coffin for a
They're
while.
gonna roll him out on a gurney into the park for family photos, like
Like Jimmy.
like Jimmy Carter. Okay, there are
It'll be like 40
32.
years from now, and they'll be like, look who Mitch is voting for. We'll be like, he's exactly like I remember him.
Mitch was so excited to vote. Um, there are 32,000 ounces in a ton.
Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot. I don't, I don't know where we were going with that figure, but
32,000?
yep. So what are we trying to figure here?
Well, if
32,000.
if it's 400 tons,
Yeah.
then you'd take 32,000 times 400, right?
Okay. So that's 12.8 million.
And you would multiply that, add 2,300 bucks by 2,300 or something. Ballpark, I guess. I don't even know if your calculator will go that far.
It does not.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. And
Me neither.
a lot of calculators don't go that far.
2.9 something. Hey, you know what? We'll ask Patrick because he has figured out how to calculate things on his computer
I bet
that
you
are
can just
beyond.
do it online.
Probably.
You reckon?
I
But yeah,
reckon.
would that be, you think it's like a trillion? Could it be? What'd you say it was? 12 something?
It says it said 2.944 E10 is
I don't
what
even know what that means.
I don't either. Hold on. Let's copy that.
That's wild. Anyway, it would make a massive difference possibly to our balance sheet.
Oh, here we go. It's 29. Oh my gosh. Hold on.
Hold on. Hold on to your seat, folks.
It's 29,440,000,000.
Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't sound like that much.
Nah, Ukraine doesn't think it sounds like that much either.
I know. Like that valuation,
I
it
know.
seems like it would be more than that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're not mathematicians. We don't even care about science anymore, according to
Or
Jasmine.
deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or
She's
we
talking
don't
about
want
us.
to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not
I wonder-
only our next pandemic, but our next
I wonder what
She-
Jasmine thinks
four
about Fort
pandemics
Knox.
because of their incompetence. So no, we
No.
are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
She doesn't know what $5,000 will do
Yeah,
to you,
I
Gary.
can imagine 5,000 being mighty helpful to just about anyone.
Means you could buy $5,000 worth of shit. That's what it means, Jasmine.
It's a few months
You could buy a
mortgage
decent used
payments.
car.
It's
You
yeah,
could pay for a mortgage for a few months.
yeah.
You could buy a lot of
Hello?
groceries. Man, she's awfully disconnected from the people for being a black woman. I feel like she should be more salt of the earth.
Well,
Use
she's
the
in
words like
she's in
TRÜF.
Congress, so she might be a millionaire. Maybe 5,000
She
doesn't
hasn't
sound
been
like
there
that
very
much difference.
long.
Oh, not long enough to be a millionaire yet?
I don't. Well, AOC
She's sad
probably
she
is.
didn't. Yeah, she's sad she didn't get in earlier.
Yeah.
Before
Think of all
Doge.
she could have been.
Pre-Doge.
Let's go to Ukraine
Let's do it.
and
Not
help,
literally go there.
help people understand what's going on.
All right.
Tell me this, Carrie. I feel like you're closer to the average bloke out there on the street than I, meaning in how much like you're paying attention and taking in and whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep. I was paying attention in the beginning, and then I was confused, and then I got clarification, and now
So
I'm
where
like,
you feel like
meh.
you're at with Ukraine right now based on
Oh,
what you're
where-
hearing out there? What do you like? have
You want to know
paid-
my wild,
Yeah.
wild opinions?
Well, I just want to know what you're hearing, like where you think things are at right now.
Oh, I'm really distracted by my wild opinions about what's happening.
Well, Trump is
Okay.
trying to broker a peace,
Yeah.
right? And Trump, through his whole campaign, was like, day one, I'll end that war, right?
Right, right.
But anyway, who cares? He's going to end the war. It's been a big priority and it continues to be,
Mhm.
right? But many people felt like Trump turned on Ukraine and Zelensky this past week.
Okay.
Did you catch that, or did that not filter into your consciousness?
No. No, that did not filter into my consciousness.
Too busy eating meat sticks on Todd's roll. Whoa! That's our clip. That's gonna get us so many views on TikTok.
Nom 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 nom.
So Trump said we got to have peace, and he calls Putin.
Yeah,
but he didn't call the little comedian. That's
actor.
That's the president of Ukraine. For those who
I
don't
like
know,
calling him the actor.
Zelensky.
Yeah.
But Trump came out with a tweet this week. I don't have the tweet in front of me.
Okay.
Maybe I should get it quick because it's probably right on Truth Social. But he basically excoriated Zelensky for being a dictator. Did you hear that, or didn't you hear that?
I did hear that. I did hear that, but I didn't know what it was based on.
It was. I'm looking to see if I can pull it up quick, but
Yeah.
Trump tweets so much that it's hard to keep up with sometimes. Although I'm on Truth, so everything should be on here because
Okay.
Twitter doesn't keep up, or whatever it is, X
Yeah.
doesn't keep up with Trump quite as well.
Okay.
He'll post some stuff on there, but if you really want everything, you need it on. You need to get it on Truth. Although there are some accounts on X that immediately post his stuff, even though it's not his account. You know what I mean? I think he's got some things because he owns part of Truth that are kind of involved in the whole thing. So basically what he said is that Zelensky's a dictator, that they haven't had elections in, I don't know, 6 years. Basically Zelensky instituted martial law, claimed that he couldn't have elections. And what Trump said is he's got a horrible approval rating in Ukraine and people are dying. And he's basically leading his country just into hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it needs to be
he's
settled.
doing well.
Right. Yeah, he's doing real well. he's got 400 or 500 million stashed away.
Oh my gosh.
And meanwhile, he says, we didn't get $200 billion from the U.S. We only got 100. I don't know where the other 100 went. Yeah,
Yikes.
who knows? And his pockets are bulging with American freshly printed cash, hundreds. They're just falling out. His wife's buying Bugattis. He's got friggin' villas all over the place. I don't know what happened to anything.
Right.
Slava Ukraine. That's our military boy.
Terrible.
Out of it. Slava Ukraini. Heroyam Slava.
Slava Ukraini. That's an American military service member who is so enamored with Ukraine, he's saying Slava Ukraine. He thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, that Bugatti that's parked outside their place is like $4 million, worth $4 million.
Oh, don't worry, it's not parked outside. They keep it. They keep it stashed away. They keep things at their villas and every place else.
Okay. Well, for a while, I think
he's a poor little
outside.
comedian trying to save his country.
No, I like how he wears weird street clothes. He looks like he's almost in
And so Trump straight up just
Army
called him
PT.
out for being a dictator, and the press has just gone insane. I mean, we love Ukraine. We love Ukraine more than anything.
Right. Well, yeah, we've had people in Congress wearing Ukraine pins who aren't wearing American flag pins.
Mm-hmm. So
how dare
that
he?
caused quite a kerfuffle out there in the social media sphere.
You know what's great about this show?
What? We're like William Sapphire from
You
the
can
New York
hear
Times.
reckon and kerfuffle in the same conversation.
And truth. Don't forget truth. The evolution of the word truth, I think.
And
I
Worcester.
think.
And Worcester,
Who knows?
Massachusetts.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Worcestershire,
How do you
Massachusetts.
say the sauce? Do you say
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire?
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. I always like pronounce it with like 7 syllables if I can. I'll be like Worcestershire. My girls are just
That sounds like what the hobbits would put on there. Worcestershire. That sounds like a. Okay.
So Ukraine is all okay, and then Europe started going nuts, and
Okay.
Emmanuel Macron called an emergency meeting and all the leaders in
Okay.
Europe in because Trump is
how does-
abandoning Europe. He's giving in to Putin,
Oh, shoot. Okay.
and Trump
That's what
hasn't
they're upset
backed
about.
down. But there's this idea. Trump said that Ukraine started the war, which I think in a way they did. Now, Russia invaded,
they?
that's true.
Okay.
But Russia told them over and over they had peace agreements with Russia that they wouldn't put biolabs in, they wouldn't put certain American weapons in, and they just ignored them and violated them. Now, is Russia respond? And they told him, he gave him years. They're like, listen, you got to get rid of this. You got to. We are not going to have these weapons. We're not going to have these labs right on our border. We're just not going to do it.
Okay.
Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO, and just everything they could do,
Mm-hmm.
they did to destabilize the region. Ukraine did.
Okay. Ukraine. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's probably the globalists working through Ukraine because
Right. I was going to say.
you got to remember that the war in Afghanistan ended and immediately we started the war in Ukraine because these dollars got to go somewhere. They're being printed.
Yeah, definitely.
People have to use them.
And we're not in the business of giving money to the people.
No. But so people have this idea that we're out there just. They don't have any idea that Zelensky hasn't had elections. We had elections. We never suspended an election for the Civil War, for World War II, for any wars that we were dealing with.
No.
We somehow muddled through.
I know, even in a pandemic.
Even in a pandemic,
We
a
stuffed
once in a lifetime.
ballot boxes on street corners during the
We
pandemic.
stole an election before we'll not have one. we'll manufacture an entire pretend election. So people have this idea about Ukraine that Russia invaded. Russia's this big bully. They're invading Ukraine. They're trying to take half of Ukraine. And the comedian president is just over here trying to defend democracy.
Right.
Nobody talks about the fact that Zelensky basically instituted a war on the Romanian Orthodox Church.
Mm.
He put his political opponents in jail. I mean, everything that you would talk about a dictator doing, Zelensky has done. Mm-hmm. He nationalized state media. I mean, there just isn't anything like.
Oh, and I just heard he shut down access to something. What did he? He just shut down access to something.
I don't know. He could have. I think I know.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'll try to figure it out without wasting too much time. But okay, so yeah.
So if people. This is Jeffrey.
So
you know who Jeffrey
don't know.
Sachs is?
No. Jeffrey Sachs?
Sachs is he's a professor. I can't remember if he's in the Trump administration. Look him up quick. It's SACHS.
Okay.
I can't remember if Trump appointed him to something.
Right.
If not, he's been an advisor of Trump's.
He's an economist.
Yeah. And maybe he's not. Maybe he's not officially appointed to anything. I don't know.
Okay.
But this is him on Piers Morgan. He has a bunch of great interviews out there. He's been on Rogan's show. He's been on Tucker's show. This is on Piers Morgan, and he gives. Now this is about a 5-minute clip. We may pause it between. We may not play the whole thing. I don't know. If it gets boring, I turn things off because I'm not going to put you guys through that because we're so much. If we're going to give time to a clip as entertaining as Carrie and I are, there has to be a lot of value in that clip.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to get here, I mean, we could clip up and put on TikTok and they'd have to censor everyone. And they would. Let me tell you about TikTok. They would censor.
Yeah, they would.
Here's Jeffrey Sachs talking to Piers Morgan, and he's giving him kind of a brief overview on the war in Ukraine. that I think is worth listening to.
You seem very reliant on accepting Putin's worldview rather than perhaps the stark reality of the barbarism with which he's executed this war.
Yeah, maybe because I know too much about the United States, because the first war in Europe after World War II was the U.S. bombing of Belgrade for 78 days to change borders of a European state. The idea was to break Serbia, to create Kosovo as an enclave, and then to install Bondesteel, which is the largest NATO base in the Balkans, in the Southwest Balkans. So the U.S. started this under Clinton, that we will break the borders, we will illegally bomb another country. We didn't have any UN authority. This was a, quote, NATO mission to do that. Then I know the United States went to war repeatedly, illegally, in what it did in Afghanistan, and then what it did in Iraq, and then what it did in Syria, which was the Obama administration, especially Obama and Hillary Clinton, tasking the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad, and then what it did with NATO illegally bombing Libya to topple Muammar Gaddafi, and then what it did in Kiev in February 2014. I happened to see some of that with my own eyes. The U.S. overthrew Yanukovych together with right-wing Ukrainian military forces. We overthrew a president. And what's interesting, by the way, is we overthrew Yanukovych the day after the European Union representatives had reached an agreement with Yanukovych to have early elections, a government of national unity, and a stand down of both sides.
So what he's talking about is a color revolution. And the CIA goes in and does these color revolutions where, excuse me, they'll topple a government. And they put all this money in, and they get this resistance, and they make it look like it's this organic movement by the people, but it's funded and it's supported by the U.S., by the CIA, but sometimes not even directly. Sometimes it'll be all these NGOs that that U.S. aid is funding.
But it's all manufactured. It's like manufactured conflict to achieve a goal that we have.
We think that it'd be better if we got rid of the government that was in Ukraine and we replaced it with a different government. So that's what we did. Now, the Russians weren't happy with that. That was not...
Imagine.
Because Ukraine's right next to Russia.
Yep.
Like, Ukraine's a world away to us. What difference does it make? But for Russia, it makes a big difference. So anyway, that's what he's talking about. Let's see what else he has to say.
That was agreed. The next thing that happens is the opposition, quote unquote, says we don't agree. They stormed the government buildings and they deposed Yanukovych. And within hours, the United States says, yes, we support the new government. It didn't say, oh, we had an agreement. That's unconstitutional what you did. So we overthrew a government, contrary to a promise that the European Union had made. And by the way, Russia, the United States, and the EU were parties to that agreement. And the United States, an hour afterwards, backed the coup. Okay, so everyone's got a little bit to answer for. In 2015, the Russians did not say, we want the Donbass back. They said peace should come through negotiations, and negotiations between the ethnic Russians in the east of Ukraine and...
I want to point something out. He's talking about 2015.
Yeah.
The color revolution happened in 14. 14 also happens to be when the Bidens got involved in Ukraine, and it also happens to be back to when Fauci, Hunter Biden, all these preemptive pardons go all the way back to 2014.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how much of the United States government is entwined in Ukraine?
Wow. Todd, clarify something for me. I'm sorry if it's a stupid question, but
Your mic.
what is the revolution you're referring to? The what?
Your mic is pulled away
Oh.
from your face. I can hear you, but you don't sound as good as normal.
I forgot. Sorry. Might be a dumb question, but clarify for me. What revolution are you referring to? You said
In 2014 when they toppled the government of Ukraine. So everything he just talked about. He talked
Yes.
about how I can't remember the guy's
attacking
name.
Libya. Yeah.
Well, but then they got to
Yakova.
Ukraine, and Ukraine had the president of Ukraine at the time, who I just forgot his name. Doesn't matter.
Is that the Yakova or something like that?
or something?
Something like that.
Whatever. He had agreed with the European Union, with the United States, with everybody. They were going to have early elections. They were going to do this. And then right after that, the United States the CIA launched a color revolution, overthrew the government. And so
that right there. What's the name of it? You're calling it something?
A color revolution.
It's called a color revolution?
And it's what the CIA does, where they go in and they basically, not directly, so it's not like the United States troops are on the ground overthrowing the government.
Okay.
They're doing it behind the scenes. They're funding it. They're supporting it because they would love to do that in Russia if they could. I mean, they'd love to do it in China. They can't do it. You know what I mean? These states are too powerful.
I'm just not familiar with that term, so I wanted to clarify if I was hearing you right.
Well, back in the 60s, I think it was the 60s, but the CIA started coming out with all these theories and all these manuals and all these books on what could we do, and we could do this. And one of the things was, we could do color revolutions, and we could overthrow governments that we don't like.
Wow.
But do it surreptitiously. Do it in the background. Do it to where we don't ever claim any credit for it. But what happened is, as of 2014, when we installed a new government that was a U.S.-backed government, that was exactly when the Bidens got involved. That's when the Obamas got involved. That's when everybody decided to make Ukraine their own little outside the U.S. playground, where they could do whatever they wanted. They can mess with bioweapons. They can have all these bio labs. They can do anything they want because they're not on U.S. soil.
Wow. It's
and
wild.
They control Ukraine.
Right.
And Russia didn't like that situation at all. And my point is, I wanted to make the connection for people between 14 and 15 and those pardons that Biden just issued.
Gotcha.
That this is all, it hasn't been put together yet. Someday they'll put it all together and there'll be a movie and it'll make sense for everybody. And you know what I mean? But this is the story that people have to understand that's going on.
And leftists will shout, propaganda.
Right.
We love the Bidens.
I think he's pretty good. You learn it so far? You good?
Yeah.
You think, okay. I want to make sure that you're interested, that you're entertained, Gary.
Well,
Taking
I'm not
valuable
entertained.
time away from your precious voice and your opinions.
Thank you. No, I'm not entertained by this. I'm a little stunned by it. You know, I tell you all the time, I'm always shaken and disturbed when I learn about the underhandedness that's happening.
It's always worse than you think.
I know. I hate that.
You're never like surprised. Like, it's never a good surprise.
I just know it isn't. I have to sound like a whiny baby about it. I just hate it. It bums me out. But no, this guy's good. This is interesting. Okay.
He's laying it out real well.
He is. Yep.
Is
this guy still, sorry.
In Kiev.
You're fine.
Is this guy like safe?
I think, he's, you know,
he's
he
laying
probably
out,
pays for his own security. I don't know, but
he's laying out some pretty damning information here.
I thought Trump had grabbed him to be something, but I guess he didn't. So I was kind of surprised, but okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I got to get the volume back up.
Led to the Minsk II agreement. The Minsk II agreement was voted by the UN Security Council unanimously.
This is big, the Minsk agreement.
It was signed by the government of Ukraine. It was guaranteed explicitly by Germany and France. And you know what? And it's been explained to me in person. It was laughed at inside the U.S. government. This is after the UN Security Council unanimously accepted it. The Ukrainians said, we don't want to give autonomy to the region. Oh, but that's part of the treaty. The U.S. told them, don't worry about it. Angela Merkel explained in Die Zeit in a notorious interview after the 2022 escalation. She said, "Oh, you know, we knew that Minsk II was just a holding pattern to give Ukraine time to build its strength." No. Minsk II was a UN Security Council unanimously adopted treaty that was supposed to end the war. So when it comes to who's trustworthy, who to believe, and so forth, I guess my problem, Piers, is I know the United States government. I know it very well. I don't trust them for a moment. I want these two sides actually to sit down in front of the whole world and say, these are the terms. Then the world can judge, because we could get on paper clearly for both sides of the world, we're not going to overthrow governments anymore, the United States needs to say. We accept this agreement, the United States needs to say. Russia needs to say we're not stepping 1 foot farther than whatever the boundary is actually reached. And NATO's not going to enlarge. And let's put it for the whole world to see. You know, once in a while, treaties actually hold.
Pretty good.
He's good.
Well, it kind of gives you, I think, a good overview of how we got to this war in Ukraine. It wasn't just Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, Russia did, but they told them over and over again, this is what's going to happen because you're ignoring this entire treaty that we signed. And so the U.S. was like, yeah, go ahead. We'll back you. I mean, that was Obama and Biden, basically.
Well, and it makes more sense of this this strange president, you know. I call him an actor. I think he's just playing a part. And it's like, but how did he get there? And it's like, now I can kind of see how he got there. He was put there
by the CIA, by the United States government. That's what happened. So
it's pretty wild.
There's a reason why everybody's yelling and screaming about how, oh, Trump, you got to let Ukraine, they're a sovereign country. No, Trump's negotiating with Putin because this is between the U.S. and Russia.
Yep.
And anybody who knows anything about it knows that's what it's between, and that's why they have to negotiate it.
Wow.
I mean, and I think Trump will do it. I think he'll get there. But the other thing that I listened to this week. Well, this is so then Zelensky went out after that, and he started bad-mouthing Trump.
Okay.
He started saying, "Oh, well, they got to do this, and we have to have a seat at the table, or we're not going to accept anything." And he starts talking to Europe, and Europe holds these special meetings, and they're like, "We're not going to accept what this dictator in America says." Blah blah blah, and so it becomes, like I said, a big kerfuffle. And this is J.D. Vance talking about, because Vance has been out there. Vance has really been great.
I love him so much. Every time he opens his mouth, I'm just filled with confidence.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Here he is talking about Zelensky.
So you said yesterday, made a lot of news, bad-mouthing Trump, not a good idea for Zelensky.
Of course
what's the thought process here?
Well, look, I mean, President Zelensky, his country wouldn't exist without the generosity of the United States of America. So say thank you. And if you disagree with the president, pick up the phone and call him or call one of our great diplomats. Don't go on a media tour around Europe bad-mouthing the president of the United States. It's insulting. It's insulting to him. It's insulting to me. It's insulting to the American people. And by the way, it's stupid. All of us who know the president would tell you that bad-mouthing him in public is not the way to get President Trump to change his mind. So I think Zelensky needs to have some better consultants.
Nice.
He called him right out. I love it.
I do too. That's good.
I really do. I think it's great.
Have you ever voted?
So, let me give you this last clip I want to play is Tucker. And I'm going to tell people, this was Tucker, and he was interviewing Bob Amsterdam.
Okay.
A lifelong liberal. Mm-hmm. He's an attorney, I think, from New York, a Jew. And that matters because he's not Christian. What he's doing is he's been representing and he's been dealing with Ukraine and Russia and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And they were the ones that Zelensky, that he basically has been outlawing. They started a new church.
Wait, the Romanian or the Ukrainian?
Not Romanian, Ukrainian.
Okay, got it.
Ukrainian Orthodox
Church.
Church. And
And
he represents
Zelensky
them.
was shutting them down.
He did shut them down. Yeah, and he's been persecuting them and
pretty
started
scary.
a whole nother Christian denomination and then started
Oh my gosh.
season the Ukrainian Orthodox churches buildings and giving them to this new one. I mean, everything you would think a dictator would do, that's what he does.
Right.
Now,
That's terrifying.
this is just a short, like, minute and a half clip. The
Okay.
entire interview is probably an hour and a half, and it's Tucker Carlson on Tucker Carlson's show, and he's interviewing Bob Amsterdam, and I really found the entire thing worth listening to.
Oh,
I
sounds
just
good.
thought it was good. I thought it was worth listening to. So I want to give people a little taste because I really think this would be worth your time to get a feel for exactly what's going on in Ukraine versus what we've been told.
Cool.
For a Republican in your life?
Never. So you're not, just wanted to be clear about that. So you were arrested by Putin and you've never voted Republican. So just want people to understand where you're coming from here.
No. I mean, that's very much where I'm coming from. Though I will say, quite frankly, that I think what's been dangerous about the past few administrations is that their breaks with rule of law have been wildly pronounced but hidden. Whatever you want to say about President Trump, I think that it's far healthier where he does a
really good point.
He does a number of things I disagree with. It's out in the open, and we can address it, attack it if we think it's wrong, but it's out in the open. With the prior administrations, it was all hidden from view, and it was almost impossible to attack, like sanctions. Almost impossible to attack, very difficult to deal with. And this authoritarianism, this denial of the civic space is hugely important.
Yes.
And it's what we in the United States have done to ourselves. I really can barely watch CNN. I understand they have serious problems with President Trump. I get it.
Most people,
but there is a whole world out there. And President Trump has made a tremendous amount of waves in that world. Surely, beyond bashing the guy, we can deal with some of the real problems, like my church, which has never been covered by CNN.
Ever?
Ever. That, to my knowledge.
They cover Ukraine all day long, but they've never mentioned that the government banned a Christian denomination.
Never. Not only the majority church of the country. Let's be clear.
Have you
Wait, what church is he a member of?
Well, he's not a member of. Maybe he is in order to defend them or whatever. Like I said, I don't think he's a Christian. I think he's Jewish. But what he's talking about is the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which would be comparable to the Russian Orthodox Church, Eastern Orthodox. You know what I mean? You had that split. I don't know when it happened, but you had the Roman Catholics, and then you had the Eastern Orthodox, and they're all kind of part of that Eastern Orthodox. You got Greek Orthodox, you got all these different Orthodox kind of traditions.
Yeah.
And then the Catholics kind of went the other way, like toward the West or whatever, and took all of Europe, and you know what I mean? I don't know when it happened, but because I'm not either one. But anyway, this entire interview, it was just so good. There was so much that you'll learn listening to it about what has actually happened with Putin. And this guy isn't a Putin fan. Putin put him in jail once. He doesn't like Putin. So that makes, and he doesn't really like Trump per se, but he likes Trump because he's at least honest. You know what I mean?
Right. I liked his point about the transparency versus how the past administrations have handled.
It's just an interesting take because you're getting this from a guy who wouldn't come by for what he is naturally, just who he is and in the circles he runs in and things.
Yeah.
He should be one of these guys with the Ukrainian flag on his frickin' like emoji. You know what I mean? His screen name or whatever. But and so you get I feel like a really good perspective on it from him. Bob Amsterdam again is his name.
Bob Amsterdam.
He was on Tucker's show. So I just think people should listen to that. I don't take away from us, obviously. But I'm saying as you supplement.
Yeah, as you run out of Todd's World to listen to, tune into Tucker.
Which will take you a while this week. this week. You're going to be
Oh
on
my
it
gosh,
for a
I
while.
know. We're going crazy here.
So anyway, that's what's going on in Ukraine, and the media, of course, has created an entirely different story, and that story has been swallowed all across the fruited plain, and been. So I do think, like everything, with freedom of speech, with acts, with lack of censorship, you know what I mean, all the things that have changed since the baton was passed from whatever globalists were pulling Biden's puppet strings in Trump.
Right.
It's a big difference. And that's what's so nice is things can get out there. Maybe I don't agree with everything Trump does. So far, I've been pretty happy, but I mean, I don't know. And then I can talk about it. We can, you know what I mean? That's the whole point of free speech is getting the ideas out into the marketplace of ideas. And now with social media, it should be so much easier and so much bigger. And because of the censorship, I mean, look at what we deal with TikTok. Assholes.
I know, totally like cutting us off. I'm sorry. I'm looking up his religion stuff, this Bob Amsterdam, because of one thing that he said about CNN's coverage.
Yeah.
He says CNN has not covered his church once. And Tucker said, not once? He said, no. Sure enough, since 2023, Amsterdam has represented the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, along with individuals related to it, in a fight against the Ukrainian government over moves to prohibit the religion.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't think he's like I said, I think he's Jewish. I don't think he's actually Christian. But maybe he became a member of the church. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely advocating for them.
Well, it's certainly become part of it.
Fighting
I mean,
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting to say. CNN hasn't
No.
covered that at all.
No. Well, it doesn't fit the story.
Right.
And the story was concocted by the U.S. government, and it was given to the media.
Wow.
And the media swallows it hook, line, and sinker. And then the media sends it out to the American public, and by and large, the American public swallows it hook, line, and sinker. Oh, look at
True.
Ukraine. It's just like 1776.
I know that is the way it was presented.
We need to send troops.
Todd, what do you think's going to happen?
UK just said the Prime Minister of UK is such an idiot. Swarmer, whatever his name is. He just said last week
he's not going to be there long.
The UK, we're going to have to send troops to Ukraine. And I thought, my God, you've already given over your own country to the Muslims. What are you worried about? Why are you fighting for Ukraine so hard? If I were you, I'd think about fighting for England first.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is Trump's whole point, America first.
Well, yeah, and it's just like our money situation. I don't know how it is that we're practically bankrupt and sending billions of dollars to everyone around the world.
Our own leaders have been on the take, and it basically have looted the country. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're so scared to death right now, because Trump's going to expose it all. Elon's going to expose it all.
Yep.
And they're scared because they're culpable. If you were culpable in the looting of a country and its citizens were about to find out,
the world's most powerful country,
you'd be doing everything you could to find some other things to talk about too. And you'd be like, "What about these people? Oh my God,
What about Ebola in New York? What about Ebola?
We've got 2 Ebola cases. Almost The Walking Dead in New York. Anything, aliens. Oh my God, aliens! Yeah. Anything you can find to change the narrative. That's all they care about.
Yep.
And
it's crazy.
Elon doesn't quit and Trump doesn't quit. They're a real good combination because, of course, Elon couldn't do anything he does without Trump's authority. And Trump did just come out yesterday. He said, I think Elon's doing a great job. I'd just like to see him, or no, maybe it wasn't Elon. Yeah, go a little harder. We've got a country to save. Like he was pushing him a little.
Oh my gosh. Like in what way? What's he want him to do that he's not doing? It's wild.
Go faster. He wants more. He wants to find out more. It is crazy. Like, and I've heard some people talking within the Trump administration, interviewed on different shows, whatever, about how this time there's a real sense of urgency all the time with Trump.
Yeah.
It's almost to where he knows how many days he has left in this term.
I know that scares me a little bit.
constant.
Yeah.
Although I think that he's going to change the country. I think that Vance is going to carry on the torch. I think that there's not going to be anything left of the Democrat Party. We'll talk about that another time. But
Yeah.
I think that the Democrat Party is going to cease, at least as we've always known it, is going to cease to be anything meaningful. That I do think there will be some kind of a second party will merge, but I just don't think it's going to be whatever they are now.
Well, but what do you think is going to happen in Ukraine? What's going to happen with Zelensky? What do you think he's going to do?
Trump's strong arming him into giving the U.S. 50% of all their mineral and natural resource rights.
Okay.
To pay us back, and that's going to turn out to be a really good deal. Let me tell you what. For us.
Good deal.
So don't you worry about all those billions we spent. We're going to get all that back and more.
Nice.
But so Trump's going to get that, even though Zelensky's trying to tell him that he's not. And Trump's going to negotiate peace with Putin, and he's going to shove it down Zelensky's throat and Europe's throat and not care at all and end the war.
There you go.
That's what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to lead. and a lot of times people, even other countries, don't like it when you lead, and Trump doesn't care. That's the great thing about Trump 2.0. I look at it every so often. I look at you. I don't know if you remember, but it was probably 2020 or 2021. You gave me this magnet, and it was like Trump looking like the Terminator, and said 2024, I'll be back.
Oh, I do remember that.
And I got it on the fridge, and I think about it all the time. I look at it, and I'm just like, he wasn't wrong.
He's back.
Back with a vengeance, man. And it's awesome. So all right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. We went long, probably. Carrie's
Did we?
I think we did like 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not going to cut any of it.
There was a lot to talk about. Well, we talked about ourselves for the first,
Yeah. Don't forget about my book, guys. The new novel.
Check it out.
It's out, 9 Mile Point. It's on Amazon. It's only available on Amazon right now. Because it's just the easiest thing.
Yep.
It's the biggest thing.
Love it.
So I think it's cheap. I think it's like $15 on Amazon.
Oh, that's good.
And it's about, 350 pages. It's a hell of a good story. Man, it's a fast pace. It's one of those where the chapters are all like maybe 4 pages, 3 pages. So they're
I
short
love books
chapters.
like that.
And it just kind of the pacing of it is real.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fast pace, but it's
That's
definitely, as I read it, I was impressed with, I thought, how did I come up with this like mystery thing? Like, I'm shocked that I was able to bring all this together like this.
Good job.
So anyway, guys, go get that. Go on toddsworld.net for some merch. And yeah. All right. We'll catch you with Beers with Jesus tomorrow.
Sounds good.
We're going to talk Mark 14 and kind of where Jesus gets arrested and convicted, or, has the kind of the sham court hearing and stuff. And then Peter denies him. That's kind of our subject matter for tomorrow. So
yes.
And it should be good. I'm excited about it, actually. So join us for that. Tell your friends. Don't forget to do that.
Thanks for those who have been sharing.
Yeah, and look for our post. I put a lot of clips up. TikTok. They don't. It'll go to 800 views. That's all they'll let it get to, and they crash it. Doesn't matter that I have like 1 out. You got real good likes. I think
It's wild.
7 likes.
They don't like it, and they're calling some of our stuff hate speech. So
because I hated TikTok, I said I hate TikTok, and they didn't like that.
They did not.
They consider themselves to be a person harmed by hate speech.
Yes.
I didn't mean I hate every person at TikTok. I meant I hate the whatever's going on with the censorship at TikTok, really is what I meant. So, all right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. We will catch you tomorrow. And then next week, who knows what will happen? We might have to do 3 hours next week.
So I'm out of town next week.
Uh-oh. Well, we might not be here next week. We'll have to figure that out.
We forgot.
If not, we'll be back the week after.
Cool.
All right. See you guys.